Hello, this is Colin Liddell, and this is the Shortpod, a brief and succinct podcast commenting on the events and issues of the day. And today it is the 7th of July 2022. By now, you have probably heard the news that Britain's Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, the man elected in 2019 with an overwhelming majority to get Brexit done, has been forced from power essentially by a backroom coup carried out by Conservative members of Parliament. Many of you will be a little bit confused about just why Boris is being forced out over the heads of the British voters. If you go to the BBC website, they have an article explaining, inverted commas, Johnson's downfall, entitled 5 Things That Led to the PM's Downfall. The first one on the list is the Chris Pincher affair. This is the scandal surrounding a homosexual Tory whip who got drunk and groped some men, and how much Boris Johnson knew about his proclivities. Number 2 is Partygate. This is a long-running scandal that Boris Johnson and other people in the government broke the lockdown rules. Number 3 on the BBC's list is the cost of living crisis and a tax rise. And number 4 on the list is the Owen Paterson row. I'm not even sure what that one is. And number 5 on the list is lack of focus and ideas. Surely that is a problem for almost every single government that's ever existed, but never mind. So I think most British people will probably know a little bit about Partygate, and some of them might have an inkling for what the Chris Pincher affair is about. But actually, I don't think these are the real reasons why Boris is going. No, the true reason that Boris is going is because Conservative Party MPs are an extremely self-serving bunch of political reptiles who make very Machiavellian decisions in order to survive politically. And what occurred recently in the UK were 2 by-elections. And what those by-elections revealed was very, very disturbing to the rank-and-file Tory MPs. Now, the Conservative Party won a massive majority in 2019, essentially because they were the biggest party, not the majority party. They got somewhere around 40% of the vote. 60% of the vote went elsewhere. But that 60% of the vote was very divided between Labour, Lib Dem in Scotland, Scottish National Party. You had people voting for some minor parties like the Green Party, and so on. Now, of course, if that non-Conservative vote unified in some way, the Conservatives would be blown out of the water at the next election. And this is more or less what was happening in those by-elections through tactical voting. In one constituency, which was more of a typical Tory constituency, the Labour vote moved completely behind the Liberal Democrat candidate, and with the slightly depressed Conservative vote, that was enough for the Lib Dems to take the seat. Then in the other by-election, which was in a more typical Northern Labour constituency, most of the Lib Dem vote switched over to Labour, allowing Labour to win back the seat. So if those conditions had been repeated at a British general election, you would have had a massive amount of tactical voting that would have ensured massive losses for the Conservative Party. So the real issue for Conservative MPs was the greatly increased efficiency of tactical voting. Now, what was enabling that greater efficiency of tactical voting to occur? Essentially, it was Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson is a larger-than-life figure, and as a larger-than-life figure, he can motivate people, but he can also motivate people negatively, rather in the same way that Donald Trump did in America. Donald Trump was an extremely popular politician, But at the same time, he was also an extremely unpopular politician, and he motivated people both positively and negatively. With the various problems that the British economy had been subjected to through the COVID lockdown, through inflation caused by supply chain issues and by the war, and by the effects of the war in the Ukraine, the Conservative government was becoming increasingly embattled. And the fact that Boris Johnson was the front guy was helping the anti-Conservative vote to unify through tactical voting. Now, by getting rid of Johnson, the Conservative MPs hope to bring in somebody who is not quite so triggering to the non-Conservative vote. They want somebody who's not going to motivate Lib Dems to vote for Labour in a seat where Labour are strongest, or for Labour voters to vote for a Lib Dem in a seat where Lib Dems are stronger. So they want somebody who's going to deactivate the anti-Conservative vote. So I'm not sure who they will pick, but I guess they'll go for somebody who's a little bit bland, who's a little bit nice, and who is not going to upset the Tory grassroots voters too much. So I guess we'll probably get a white leader, possibly somebody like Penny Mordaunt, who is the bookies' favourite, or maybe somebody like Dominic Raab, somebody who doesn't have that larger-than-life Boris factor, which started out as a political positive, but by the end of his career had turned into a political negative. Over and out.